us introduce to you Ryan Cunningham, Corporate Vice President, Microsoft. Enjoy the week.
Thank you.
Woo! Welcome. Thank you for joining us here. It is an honor to be part of this event again. It is always a surprise when I'm invited back somewhere. But it's particularly this group, this community is just such a vital part of what we do. To say that Power Platform loves community is an understatement. Power Platform is founded on community. From the earliest days, building and shipping product, to have a feedback channel, to have a group of humans who care about making that product better and helping each other succeed with it, that really is the magic sauce that has made Power Platform succeed. And succeed we have. This community alone is not just a few thousand people in Vienna. It's millions of people engaging online in our digital communities every month, physical meetups in hundreds of locations around the world. And this group of humans is serving tens of millions, hundreds of millions of end users, creating billions of dollars of economic value that did not exist just a few years ago. We should all be proud of what we've built here together. But what's really cool to me about that community is even as we've grown, even as we've become more professional and higher scale and higher risk, this community has retained what makes it special. Those personal connections, the desire to be better. And recently there's one thing that has come to really symbolize the value of this community for me. And it's not a feature, and it's not an announcement, it's actually a coffee mug. This mug was a gift to me by a member of the community this year. In fact, Sarah is one of our MVPs and is in the audience today, so I'm going to embarrass her here. And in addition to being probably one of the world's top Power Platform developers, turns out she's also an amazing potter and incredibly generous. Right? And I took this photo last weekend as I was preparing for a project in my own wood shop, and it really helps me reflect on a couple of things. For one, this is fundamentally a community of people, and it always will be. No matter how deep we get in technology, how far we go with AI, we are a group of humans who are helping each other, and now is a moment where that connection is more important than ever. But this is also a community not just of tech people, not just of business people, but we're fundamentally a creative community at heart. And it's a community made up of people who have all kinds of passions outside of Power Platform, whether it's making pottery or making music or making art or making books or making sawdust in my case. But it's also a community professionally where we are creative to the core. The one thing that unites all of us is not our background in technology or the industry that we work in. It's that at some point, everybody walked into work one morning and said, that can be better. And I'm going to make it better. And I'm going to use whatever tools I can find to change the way work happens in this organization. And one by one, app by app, flow by flow, dashboard by dashboard, we are changing the way the world works. And that's a really special thing. And what's cool about this moment is those tools are getting far more powerful. And that means that our ambition as a creative community can extend dramatically. Right? And this is really the thing I want us to focus on today, beyond any of the individual features or demos. It's how do we shift from incremental thinking to order of magnitude thinking. Right? It used to be that doing 10% better was a huge achievement that we would all feel great at. Saving 10% of cost or adding 10% more productivity was a great outcome. But the world isn't thinking like that anymore, right? And I guarantee if your organization isn't thinking in orders of magnitude yet, there's a company that was founded within the last 12 months or will be born within the next 6 months in your industry that is. And so the question in front of all of us right now is how do we start thinking AI first? How do we start thinking about 10x? And that's a fundamentally different thought process. 10% I can get in the basic structure that I work in today. It's not easy, but I can work a little harder, I can trim a little bit from a budget, I can push a little faster, I can get to 10%. I cannot get to 10x like that. I have to think very differently about how I approach a problem. And I'm not talking about cost cutting. Now, that's probably the least interesting part of this problem. What does it mean to provide 10 times better products, 10 times better customer experiences, 10 times better citizen services, right? And really change the way whole industries work. That's the opportunity that's in front of us as a creative community today. And that forces us to rethink how we're fundamentally structured. You know, it used to be that the limiting factor for us was how efficiently people could work together, right? And part of what limited us from going to 10x was the rate at which the human brain can scale, right? And what we started to do in the beginning is to look at that and say, let's augment every single one of those people in an organization with an assistant, with a co-pilot that can help them do more and help them go faster. Right, and that is becoming just a daily part of so many people's work life, mine included. It's hard for me to imagine working without a co-pilot now. But that didn't on its own fundamentally change the structure of our organizations. Right? And the next step is to go say, how do we get into that and actually augment every one of those humans with a team of digital coworkers? Right? And that's where we start to reach beyond the incremental. And where we start to really get to what could it mean to 10x our industries and our output and our capability. But that creates a much more complicated space. Because we're not talking about 1 or 2 or 5 agents a year. That's something that I can build, again, without fundamentally changing the structure of my operation. I can hire some data scientists, I can bring in some experts, I can get to 5. What about 500? What about 5,000? Right? In that world, I need to think differently, and I need to work on highly abstracted platforms. And that means that we need to build a lot. Right? IDC says we're going to build 1.3 billion agents in the next few years. And you can look at that and say, that's just a big made-up number. Right? But if we're really talking about taking every human on the planet with a job and extending their organizations 10x with agents, this is probably a drastic undercount. Right? And so the question in front of all of us is, how are we going to build for that world? And how are we going to get there fast? Right? It takes a number of different aspects, right? First, we've got to think about not just building the first agent, but building teams of them and getting them to work together quickly. And then we have to think about what's the experience of the rest of the people in the organization to work with those digital coworkers. Right? We need to rethink almost every piece of software that we currently run in our companies for a world not just of humans, but of people and agents collaborating together. And then if we're going to do that, we got a lot of skeptics to convince. Right? How many people just barely got comfortable with the idea of people who are not software developers building a Power App? And now you're telling me I'm going to build autonomous agents and teams of them and 10x productivity? There's a lot of questions to answer. But there are a lot of capabilities to build on. And this, folks, this is why Power Platform is so important right now. Right? Beyond any one product and capability, we're not going to build hundreds or thousands of agents one by one. Right? We're going to build them on top of a platform that handles all of these aspects. How they work together, how they integrate with systems and data, how they change the human experiences, and how we govern and scale them. And that's exactly what we're going to focus on this morning and for the rest of the event. We're going to zoom into the latest and greatest parts of the product that achieve each of these capabilities. And you'll see real examples of customers that are working with the tech today, and you'll see 100% live code, real demos. And we're going to start at the beginning about what it means to create this team of agents. And we're going to look at it through the lens of some amazing work that Accenture is doing on behalf of their customers. You know, this is an organization that, for many decades has helped organizations rethink their operations for efficiency. And it's no surprise that they are on the cutting edge of Power Platform and applying agents with Copilot Studio into that work. but to show it to you and to show it to you live, I'd love to welcome Derah to the stage. Derah, take us away.
Guten Morgen, Vienna. It's 2:07 a.m. in Singapore. A red alert has just hit. A tier 1 supplier in Vietnam has gone completely dark. In just 3 hours, assembly lines would sit idle, burning more than $5 million per hour. Typically, to solve this, someone has to scramble out of bed at 2 in the morning, get to the phone lines, emails, text messages, phone calls to find an alternative supplier. Hours of manual chaos. But today, we're not panicking. We're orchestrating with Microsoft Copilot Studio. Accenture has a supplier discovery agent that has already gotten to work, turning this chaotic situation into bliss. But not in days or hours, more like minutes and seconds. Let's take a look. So we're here in Microsoft Copilot Studio, your hub for building, configuring, and deploying these agents in your organization. Here, we have the supplier discovery agent. Now, this isn't just a chatbot. It's a digital teammate with a clear goal. Identify alternative suppliers, do deep research analysis on them, and then take the best next steps. But I'm sure you're wondering, how have we configured this agent? First, we've given it a set of instructions. Now, take a look at this. This isn't code, these aren't scripts. These are natural language instructions, meaning that you can build these agents in your organizations too. We're telling our agent what to do, how to do it, with what to do it. And we're describing to our agent just like we would describe to a colleague. Secondly, we're giving our agent some serious brain power. We're equipping it with Accenture's proprietary knowledge sources, and at runtime, this grounds the agent to make the best decisions and take the best actions based on company policies. So we've given our agent instructions, we've given it knowledge, we've told it what to do, how to do it, when to do it. But our agent is incomplete without actually giving it the abilities to take those actions. And that's where tools come in. With tools, we can equip our agent with the abilities to take action. We have first-party and third-party connectors across the board, and just like humans, our agents are not limited to only one tool. We now have support for Model Context Protocol, or MCP, for autonomous agents in Copilot Studio. Okay, so for this agent, I'm going to be showing you 4 main tools. The first tool I'm going to be showing you is a custom prompt that lets our agent have custom logic and custom instructions. Next, I'll show you agent flows for bulletproof consistency. And third, computer use, giving my agent the ability to control a computer just like a human would. Now, I said 4 tools. There's one more tool that we can give to our agent, and that's by far the most powerful tool. I'm not going to tell you just yet, but you're going to have to pay attention and listen. Let's look at the first tool. So here, I have my custom prompt. And if you remember, we gave our agent high-level instructions of what it should do and the tasks it should complete. However, for certain parts of my process, I want my agent to have custom logic to carry out the task. And that's where a custom prompt comes in. So in here, I'm giving my agent custom instructions to carry out this task. I'm giving it performance data, ESG metrics, supplier risk data, and I'm giving it this custom logic so that it can use it to carry out the task. And take a look right here. I'm equipping my agent with Azure AI Foundry models. I'm equipping it with Grok 3 from Azure AI Foundry. Now, of course, you can use the managed models from GPT, but you can also bring the models you've configured in Azure AI Foundry. So while your data scientists are working in Foundry to build that AI platform, they're creating the foundation and post-training the models for you to consume in Copilot Studio to build dozens and hundreds of agents on top of. So today, it could be Grok 3, tomorrow, it could be Claude, and the day after, it could be DeepSeek. The models that are post-trained and built in Azure AI Foundry can be consumed and used here in Copilot Studio. So our model is running, and soon we will see the results here in the custom prompt. And look at that. In just a matter of seconds, our custom prompt has come back, selected a subset of suppliers, and we even have the rationale for why those suppliers were selected. All right. The next tool are agent flows. The power of agents lie in the fact that they're adaptive, they're agile. They change their operation based on changing circumstances. But there are parts of your process that you always want to follow the same set of steps, especially for high-stake processes. And we have a high-stakes process, the approval of a supplier, especially when millions of dollars are on the line. So we've configured an agent flow here, and we're equipping our agents to use this as a tool. We have a supplier approval workflow here, and when the selected supplier passes through this workflow, it first goes to the plant manager for approval. Next, it goes to the compliance risk lead, and then there's some custom logic here such that if the supplier cost is high and the quality score is less than 90, then it goes to the finance VP for approval. This is for bulletproof consistency in our agent, and our agent can then use this tool for the approval workflow. Next, we have computer use. Personally, one of my favorites. You see, a lot of the systems we've been working with and interacting with have been API-based or cloud-based systems. But there are some that don't play so nice, and one of those examples is our supplier sourcing portal. It doesn't have an API, but we want our agent to also interact with it. So we're giving our agent instructions to simply go to this website, click Add a New Supplier, and enter the supplier details. No API needed. And so we're going to see that in action and see how our agent gets to work with that. I'm going to give it test data to start with, and we'll see what our agent is going to do. The first thing our agent would do is to, of course, look at the instructions. And as it's getting things ready, notice here, we're not telling it to the exact clicks to make. We're not telling it the exact things to do. We've just given it a high-level goal. Go to this site and enter this information. All right. Seems like my agent is not being friendly today. But nonetheless, let me show you typically what would happen when the computer use gets active. We have a stream here of a previous run. We can see that the agent has taken in that information, and what it's doing is on that website, looking at the portal, looking at the fields, and knowing the right things it should do. So it's going through and it's taking screenshots, clicking the right fields, entering the right information. Now, this is no longer like brittle RPA. Here, we're giving our agent a simple goal, and it knows what to do. We're giving it a keyboard. We're giving it a mouse. We're giving it full control of our system and saying, you can click on this, you can drag and drop, you can enter fields. And so even when user interfaces change, our agents adapt as well. All right, so I've told you the 3 tools. And remember, there's one more powerful tool, the most powerful tool we can give to an agent. I'll give you 3 seconds to think about what that tool is before I tell you. The most powerful tool you can give to an agent are other agents. So here in Copilot Studio, we now support A-to-A or agent-to-agent orchestration. And why is this powerful? It's because we can equip each agent with its own special knowledge and special tools, and those agents can work in tandem to carry out the task. So here we have a supplier sourcing agent, and we have a risk scoring agent. And we can give our supplier discovery agent other agents from other places. Of course, from Copilot Studio, from Fabric, and even Azure AI Foundry and Microsoft 365 coming very soon. So I showed you instructions. I showed you knowledge. I showed you tools. I showed you how we can connect our agents together to work together. But now I'm sure you're wondering, how do we get our agents to work? And let's see how they actually function when a supplier goes down. All right. So we're we're going to trigger our agent from chat, but of course, we can use the automatic triggers. All right? And as soon as we've triggered our agent, it gets to work. The first thing our agent does is to call upon the supplier sourcing agent that we just created. The supplier sourcing agent first gets a list of suppliers in the network, and then it runs that custom prompt to create a subset of the suppliers. Now that custom prompt is running, and we can see the data that is being passed into it. Performance data, the ESG metrics, and our agent is coming back with a subset of the suppliers. Then after that, the next thing that comes in would be the risk scoring agent, as we can soon see. It kicks into gear. It first fetches financial statements, and then it validates the supplier risk to select the best supplier. And then next, the supplier approval gets to work, and then computer use comes alive. And then finally, when all these tools are run and our agent has completed this task, our supplier is onboarded in the final step. You just saw that. In a matter of minutes, our agents came alive and got to work. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't just AI. This is enterprise-grade orchestration. It's fast, it's intelligent, it's resilient, and it's built right here in Copilot Studio. Thank you. Ryan, back to you.
Woo! All right. Thank you, Derah. If you are not half as excited about agents as Derah is, you need to have more coffee after the session, because this is so much more than a chatbot. You know, it was not so long ago that we were wowed by an AI assistant that would wait in the corner for somebody to talk to it and could only respond with a text message, right? But now we're looking at so much more. Teams of agents that can work together, that can talk to data sources, that can use computers autonomously, that can trigger predictable workflows, all of the goodness of Power Automate and Cloud Flows that have been maturing for years, now usable directly inside of Copilot Studio agents, the ability to then work with systems so much more flexibly and scalably than traditional RPA by using computers, and the ability to work together in a team. You know, just a few of the many innovations we're bringing to Copilot Studio and rapidly establishing it as the agent platform of choice. And it is the agent platform of choice for a lot of customers already today. Hundreds of thousands of organizations, 90% of the Fortune 500, not just kicking the tires. You know, Wells Fargo, for example, has deployed agents to more than 4,000 bank branches across North America. 35,000 frontline workers in those bank operations can talk to agents to help do more than 1,700 branch procedures far more efficiently than they could do with manual searching and paper alone. T-Mobile has set up agents to monitor more than 20 suppliers in a scenario very similar to what you just saw Derah demo. HCL is deploying agents internally, driving more than 40% acceleration in their ability to respond to employee cases and tickets and equip their own workforce to go faster. Pets at Home, the largest pet care retailer in the UK, using agents to innovate across their entire business, from how they launch new products in categories like insurance to how they do fraud detection and prevention, you know, building the ability to drive millions of British pounds of value in their business on a day-to-day basis. And the last one I'll highlight here is EY, another phenomenal Power Platform customer and partner. Hundreds of thousands of employees at EY using Power Apps every day. And for critical processes, now even deploying Copilot Studio agents to do things as critical as general ledger operations over SAP. You know, so this is far more than the simple stuff, right? These are organizations taking a bet on Power Platform as an agent platform and really extending what their human workforce can do. But of course, that human workforce is a really important part of this story, right? As more and more agents come into our organizations, as they do more and more of that, you know, basic low-level information work, it means we have to rethink a lot of the human experiences for work. We have to rethink a lot of our business applications and what it means to be a user in a world of agent collaboration. And that's really where the future of Power Apps is rapidly headed. And to show you that, we're going to do it through the lens of another amazing Power Platform customer in Heineken. Now, Heineken has a great story, and you'll hear a bit of it in their own words in a moment. But to show you what the future of human and agent collaboration can look like at Heineken, I'd love to welcome Clay to the stage. Clay, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ryan. Hi, everybody. Over 25 million Heinekens are served every day in over 192 countries around the world. It's a large and complex logistics network. Sales orders and trade agreements are key processes, both of which a small error or a minor delay has a direct impact to customers. Today, we're going to have a look at how Heineken can manage their sales orders and their trade agreements in a modern and agentic application. This is Power Apps, but it might not be the Power Apps that you're familiar with. I'm going to start my day in my agent feed. I get a summary of the activity of all the agents under my supervision, and it really is a team. I get this team of eight. This is how you know it's real. I just do that early. This team of agents managing throughout the order process, from transport to sales order management. And I can see where they need my assistance or where they're just providing information. I can see there's an order here that needs additional information. I can jump directly into the order from my feed. I'm not just greeted by a wall of fields. Instead, I get a quick summary of the order and what's going on. Now, in this case, there's quite a bit of missing information. Fortunately, this customer emailed me recently. I've got the additional information in email. Now, rather than me make you sit there and watch me sit side by side and copy and paste this for the next 3 minutes, I'm going to use my data entry agent to pull that information in. I can use the new M365 picker to find my email, and it's going to start reviewing that email, extracting the relevant information, and entering it directly into my form. I can do this with documents, emails, or even copying and pasting information in. Now, once it's made the information available, it's gone ahead there and matched 13 fields for me. No developer had to configure this. It's out of the box available. From here, I can review each suggestion, understand where it came from, accept or reject it. Now, I've unblocked this order. My agent can continue. Now, I can see another flag here for me that there's been an increase in order volume. For that, I'm going to do some data exploration. So I'm going to come in here and ask for a summary of orders over time. I describe what I'm looking for in natural language, but rather than just query and bring back a list of information, because I've asked for over time, it's actually given me a visualization as well. This is built into the product. It's interactive. I can still filter my grid, and I get those cool summarization features that I got on the form as well without even digging in. No developer had to build this chart. It's generated on the fly based on the natural language request that I put in. Now, we can see there's been a clear increase here for this customer. We can change their delivery schedule. It's a win for the customer and ultimately a win for Heineken. But I want to make sure my leadership team is involved as well and kept up to date. So I'm going to also create an agent flow here to send a summary to Ryan once a week. Keyboard's going a bit slow there. Select Ryan, send it once a week, and confirm. Now Ryan's going to be kept up to date with the progress there as well. From the moment I logged into the app, I had a team of agents supporting me. They brought me the critical, they helped me with the mundane, and ultimately helped me be more efficient. This is what human and agent collaboration looks like. Back to you, Ryan.
I think Clay's agent just sent me an email. So I'm going to ask you to stay there for a minute, because I got a lot of questions about how you did that. But I want us to kind of zoom into what you just saw. This is not your uncle's Power App. right? This is not starting at forms over data and manual entry. This is completely reimagined for a world of human-agent collaboration. Starting at the activity that agents are doing, and then partnering with those agents all the way through a process to enter data, to understand trends, to summarize records, to even do custom work. And that is just a big change and leap forward for how we think about our primary user experiences around some of these really critical workflows. But in a world where an agent can generate a great chart on the fly without a business intelligence person building a cube, without a developer using a D3 library, we have to ask a fundamental question, like, what is the role for us as developers, as practitioners? What does our toolkit look like in this world? And how do we build not just one app at a time, but a whole solution like what you just saw, right? And that is where we are rethinking not just the experience of using applications, but we're really rethinking the experience of being a developer and an innovator in the first place, and what that means with a team of agents as well. So Clay, why don't you show us how you did all of that, and we'll go to part 2.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, let's take a look at what it looks like to actually go and build a modern and agentic solution. I'm going to start from Power Apps, and I'm going to start with building a plan. Now, what I'm going to do here is describe the business problem. I'm not going to start from picking an app or a flow or what I'm trying to build. I'm going to describe my pain. I'm going to describe the outcomes. I'm even going to come in here and just select a screenshot of my legacy application that I'm trying to modernize. As soon as I launch, I jump into the plan, and the requirements agent has started breaking down the business problem. It's looking at that problem, it's looking at the attachments, and it started to break down the requirements, the roles involved. I actually have an entire team of agents supporting me. It's my own personal software development team working through this problem. And they're going to get engaged at different steps. Now I can see here it's identified there's a sales manager, there's a customer, and there's an AI agent involved. And it started to break out the relevant processes that are going to be involved as well. As each one of these agents work, I can see them working in real time, just as if I was collaborating on a document. Once they produce their content, I can then jump in and start editing at any point. Now, this is taking a little bit longer than expected, so I'm going to jump ahead to one I prepared earlier. Now, once it's generated the objects for me, I can start making inline edits and inline changes. I can also then move on from my requirements and start working with the data model. My data agent has proposed a rich data model for me directly over Dataverse, the same data platform that runs multi-billion-dollar ERP and CRM estates. Anywhere in here, I can work with my data agent to make changes. I can add existing tables or add new ones. My data model looks good. I'm then going to move on and have a look at my technology. You'll notice here, I haven't just jumped in and I'm starting to build a single app or I'm starting to build a single flow. It's proposed a complete solution. And it's not an abstract plan. It's the Power Platform components that I know and love. So in this case, it's proposed for each of these processes a combination of apps, sites, flows, and even agents to best meet these requirements. Now I'm going to come in here and let's start building the order inquiry agent. So for that, I click from the plan. It takes me directly into Copilot Studio. Now the nice part about this is I still get the full power of Copilot Studio and all the capabilities you saw Derah use earlier. But as I land in here, my instructions and my knowledge are already configured. This has been built based on the requirements and the roles I already outlined in the plan. As a developer, I've got a jump start. I'm going to focus on the nuance and the advanced scenarios, not doing the basic setup of the agent. Let's jump back and let's start building that sales order management app that we saw earlier as well. So similarly, I'm going to launch into the app designer. As soon as I do, on the left-hand side here, I get my plan details in line. I am constantly reminded of who am I building for and what am I building. You can see the app it's produced using our pre-built forms and views, and I get all of those in-app agent capabilities already configured. My summary agent, my data exploration agent, and my data entry agent. They're ready to go just by creating from the plan. This is also my opportunity to start configuring the agents under the supervision of this app as well. So this is where I can come in, start selecting my apps and connect my agents, and connecting them to the business process. Now, all of the pre-built forms, views, in-app agents are amazing capabilities, but there's always going to be a need for some custom UI. I'm super excited to introduce generative pages. Generative pages allow me to produce a React-based page directly within my application. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm just going to describe what I want the page to look like. I want to be able to upload trade agreements in a CSV form and enable them for specific customers. I'm going to come in and connect it to my customer and my trade agreement tables from Dataverse. And I'm even going to attach an extremely high-fidelity design of what I want my app to look like. Now, once I kick it off, my app agent has jumped into action. I can see it's starting to work through the problem. It's identifying its requirements, it's listing off assumptions, it's showing me how it's working. Now, if I'm a low-code developer, this is great. I'm communicating in natural language, it's explaining what it's doing back to me. If I'm a code-first developer and I understand React, I can see the code streaming in real time. Everything that it's doing is transparent. I don't have to guess about what's being produced or what's happening in the background. And at any point, regardless of my skill set, I can review the chat, see exactly what I've asked, see exactly what the app agent is doing. And at any point, its thoughts and the summary of how it's approached it is available to me. Now, this is going to give me a first version. This is very much like working with a real developer. It's never going to be perfect, but that is pretty good for one single prompt of what it's produced. So it's come back here. I can select customers. It looks pretty much like my design from my whiteboard. And I could keep coming back in here and saying, come in here and add pill filters or expand. Now, I'm going to jump into a published version of this app so you can see it sort of running in context. This is the sales order management app we were in before. You can see I have my in-app agents, I have my agent feed, but as part of it, I also now have this custom trade agreement screen I built in generative UX. Now, to show you what it actually does is I can come in here, I can select my customer. It actually supports upload of a CSV file, and it supports drag and drop. I don't know about you guys, but this would have taken me a significant amount of time in either low code or pro code to get a CSV upload and drag and drop in the first version of an app that I'm producing. I've gone in a few minutes from a requirements definition and a screenshot of the legacy app that I'm trying to modernize. I've been supported by a team of developers, and I've built a modern and agentic application with generative, tailored UX, all on a scalable platform. Ryan, how cool is that?
Cool, yeah? Thank you, Clay. That was awesome. And so different from how we've worked in the past, right? We're really looking at this core concept of 10x the capacity of your organization, starting with developers. Starting with surrounding every professional team with colleagues and every business process expert with a digital innovation organization at their disposal. And it all starts with a plan. Now, we are really excited that just a few weeks ago, plans became generally available in Power Apps, and already tens of thousands of people around the world, including here in Europe, are using them. In fact, we're seeing the first apps built from plans already going into production. It's starting to make a huge change in the way the world works, and we're very excited to see what you can do with it as well. But this starts to open up a whole other chapter in our conversation, right? Because already, even before plans, right, organizations were reaching massive scale on Power Platform. And with that comes incredible impact, but also incredible responsibility, right? So we're going to spend the rest of the time sort of talking about how organizations are scaling on the platform and how we are innovating to enable that scale. But before we get into more demos, I'd love you to see some of that scale in action right through the words of customers like Heineken and others themselves. Let's roll a short video.
The Power Platform is growing year by year within Heineken. With the managed platform, we are able to govern thousands of environments with just 5 team members within the global team and return more than 4,000 hours back to organization.
From the Power Platform, we built out a centre of excellence within the bank, plus development community now of over 1,000 colleagues who are actually building apps, chatbots, using the technology.
Power Platform gives the users the ability to create applications and information flows automatically. It means that everyone in Ericsson has the ability to make applications and make innovations. Lead times from starting an application and then rolling it out has gone from 380 days down to 70. It's almost like a miracle.
It's almost like a miracle. Unfortunately, it's still software, but it's very close to miracle. We're very close. I mean, some amazing stories there, right? One of the oldest financial services institutions in the UK, enabling everybody to build apps and chatbots. An organization the size of Heineken, enabling more than 100,000 colleagues with a team of 5. And by the way, Giada is a rock star for doing that. It's also her birthday, so I'm going to embarrass you, so congratulations. Yeah. And Ericsson, in that video, also everybody in the organization able to innovate, right? And that's a very different mentality than a lot of us started when it comes to Power Platform governance, right? A lot of us started on the defensive, right? How do we stop this? How do I turn it off? How do I shut it down, right? But organizations like Heineken and like Lloyd's and like Ericsson are asking a very different question, right? How do I operationalize this at scale? And how do I do that on a fully managed platform, right? And there's an amazing amount of innovation that we've brought to the managed platform to make that kind of scale not just possible, but secure, impactful, reliable, the best way to deploy production software. And to show you that, we're going to try something that we have never done on a keynote stage before. We're going to do a governance demo as a multiplayer demo. So we're going to look at both the perspective of the admin and the user at the same time. It's going to be cool, it's going to be risky, and to bring it to you are the best possible people on the planet to do it. Priya and Heather, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ryan. Today, I'm going to be demoing from the perspective of the head of productivity and collaboration at Ericsson. They lead a small but mighty team that have managed to scale to over 23,000 apps and growing, and over 10,000 makers within their organization. That kind of scale would not have been possible without the power of the managed platform. So here I am, in the brand new admin center, gorgeous admin center, I might be a little bit biased. And if I scroll down, I already have Advisor, the agent running on my behalf, giving me intelligent recommendations to improve the security posture and operational health of Ericsson, all of the Power Platform assets. Looking above, I see a great visual telling me my security score needs some optimization. I can drill in, and I'm taken into the Security Hub, where I get more details, and Advisor Agent is focused just to the security recommendations that I should pay attention to. The thing that really catches my eye is the managed security recommendation right here. This managed security setting catches my eye because as agents are becoming critical to everything we're going to be doing within Ericsson, I want to make sure I have a good handle on how we can manage that. And this is where the power of scale comes to play. I can look very quickly across the environment groups I have set up within Ericsson. The Ericsson Labs group is doing some innovation, and I feel like that is probably a first place I would drill into to reduce some of the agent sharing risk. As they're sharing their creations, I probably don't want everyone to be able to edit it, and I probably want to limit that upper limit to some number to, let's say, 20 to start. While I'm done setting my agent settings, over time, the more of these security recommendations I take advantage of, my security score improves. The Action Center in the Power Platform Admin Center is a place for me to look at all of advisors' recommendations across security, across licensing, and even operational health. And the benefit of this is I can even see advisors constantly running and see the trend of some of these recommendations either improving, decreasing, or needing my attention over time. Starting off at Ericsson is now made easy with the power of environment routing. All new makers, no matter where they start, inside of Power Apps or Copilot Studio or Power Automate, are automatically given a developer environment, their own personal sandbox to begin to learn the Power Platform, and each one of those environments are now routed into an environment group. Groups allow me to help make consistent policy decisions. I've put all of Ericsson's developer environments inside of a personal developer environment group. Let's take a look at some of the key rules that have been set up and published within this group that allow us to scale. First, and most important, is the advanced connector policies. For all you makers, I would love for them to get started building apps and agents and flows, but I want to make sure that they're constrained to just Microsoft connectors. While the connector list takes a little bit of time to load, I want to make sure I call your attention to very specifically what is allowed and what is not allowed within Ericsson. While Microsoft connectors are allowed, everything new that is introduced is automatically blocked. So that gives me a lot of confidence that makers, new, or even as they're learning, are not accidentally exposing internal sensitive data externally. The second thing are default deployment pipelines. This is a powerful new construct. I can limit how broadly apps and agents can be shared within this environment group. But when these creations are ready for broader adoption and sharing within their departments, I never want makers to be blocked. And deployment pipelines allow them to be seamlessly moving their creations into a test environment and a development environment as the time is right. Makers can be welcomed with some great onboarding material that my team can set up inside of the Maker Welcome message. And finally, I have a robust set of granular sharing controls to limit how broad sharing can happen across Canvas apps and agents. While I've given you a quick rundown of all of the rules I can set up for new makers in this Ericsson Personal Developer Environment Group, let's take a look at how a new maker in Ericsson experiences these changes. Heather, can you take us away through this?
Thank you, Priya. My first task at Ericsson is to either find or create a solution to manage and track OKRs across the business. And lucky for me, my first week on the job, I got an introduction email introducing me to the Power Platform, which allowed me to quickly get started and look at all of the potential capabilities in my fingertips. Now, when I clicked into Copilot Studio, not only do I get routed into my own developer environment, but I also get a welcome message that introduces me to some of the high-level capabilities available to me in the Power Platform and important environment guidelines shared by Ericsson. Now, after some weeks of development, I've been able to create a Power App that I'm pretty proud of. I've tested it with a couple of coworkers and gotten some initial feedback, but I'm ready to share it with a wider group of business owners to better understand the requirements and get some additional feedback. Now, I have some people in mind that I think could give me some pretty good feedback, so I'm going to start sharing my app with them. But it looks like I'm actually hitting my sharing limits, which makes sense. I've already shared it with a couple of people, and it looks like I'm being guided to actually start a deployment. I've never used deployment pipelines, but I'm starting to feel like a real developer. Just as developers push code from test to prod, I'm being asked to push my app through that same framework, which makes total sense. And it looks like I'm actually being dropped into a default deployment pipeline, which is great, because that would take me quite a bit of time to understand how to build these deployment pipelines and if they meet Ericsson's environment guidelines. So I can quickly get started here and move on to deploying my app. Though I'm sure this deployment will probably take a couple minutes, right, Priya?
That's right, Heather. So while Heather's deployment takes a little bit of time to set up, as an admin in the Admin Center, I have complete oversight over all the pipeline deployments that need my approval. I can see I have 2 pending approvals ready for me to review. Earlier, I talked to you about Advisor, the agent assisting me with intelligent nudges. Again, here, AI assists me with detailed deployment notes, summarizing what is in this deployment. I can see the Canvas app, the tables that are part of the solution, and at the very top, I can also see that it passed a test rate. All of this looks good to me, and I can just hit approve and move on. While deployments give me great operational oversight, the other place in the admin center that gives me a great view into the help and with real-time alerts is the monitoring hub. I can look at all the Power Apps and Power Automate flows and evaluate which apps are not running with the right performance bottlenecks or even failing to launch below a certain threshold. The Ericsson OKR Tracker app catches my eye. I know Heather and I have been talking about this. And a 75% launch rate doesn't feel that healthy to me. I can drill in, and as admin, I have a view into who is the app owner, but I can also look at the success rate and the insights that are made available to me as well as the maker. I can gently nudge the makers to go take a look into their apps and help them improve the operational health before it impacts more users. Here, I can easily, find Heather, not Hannah, and send her a note to go investigate her app. Hey, Heather, I'm going to send you a little bit of a Teams message. Couldn't you take a look at this app to see why it's not launching? I don't know why the app launch rate seems so low.
Thanks, Priya. And yeah, I got that message immediately here in Teams. I'm going to jump into the details. To be honest, this app has gotten quite popular, so we want to make sure that it's working properly. I'm excited to dig into the details once they load here and see what's going on at the bottom of the access rights. It's a real demo if it takes some time, huh? OK, perfect. I can see that the app open success rate is pretty low at 75%. Let me jump in here to get some initial insights. And it looks like 25% of sessions are actually failing because of permission access. Yeah, this app has gotten quite popular, and it's becoming difficult for me to manage everyone's permission. Is there any way that you and your team might be able to help me out here?
That makes a lot of sense, Heather. As a COE, we get a lot of requests for apps, and we empower everyone to go build their own solutions. But this is a pretty common request, and it seems like the right time for us to take it over and manage it centrally. And in doing that, we're also going to move that into a production environment within the Ericsson Mission Critical Environment Group. And this is where every one of our mission-critical apps and agents and flows will be running with the most stringent of governance policies for user access, as well as all of the high availability options. So let's take a look at Ericsson OKR production environment. My team has already enabled disaster recovery here. And this is a really powerful concept because without opening up a service ticket, the team can immediately run their own disaster recovery drills, or in the event of a regional outage, run their own emergency response recovery. Agents have become so central to Ericsson's future that I need a central command center for agent oversight. That's where the Copilot Hub comes to play. I'm looking at the Copilot Studio product page within the Copilot Hub, and at a glance, I can see the top active agents that are already under development within the organization. I can see their success rate. And more interestingly, I can also look at how much of the prepaid capacity of these agents are already consuming. I can drill in to see the daily spend, and Advisor, my agent, is always at hand, giving me the right nudges to help me manage agents as they scale and grow within Ericsson. The Copilot Hub overview is a great way for me to find out about all the new AI and agent capabilities that will be launching within the Power Platform. I can drill in, and as an admin team, figure out what are all the message center posts that are relevant for Copilot Studio, Copilot, and agents, and plan and manage the rollout across the environment groups that I've set up. All of this gives me a ton of confidence to scale the rapid and organic adoption of agents, because grassroots innovation is what has helped Ericsson scale to the number of apps, and we have a bright future ahead as we look to scale agents. With that, I hand back over to you, Ryan.
Thank you, Priya and Heather. That was fantastic. I don't know about you, but if you're a CIO or a security professional, that kind of demo just lowers your blood pressure, right? Like it really helps us believe that not only can we build great things, but we can deploy them at scale, secure them, operate them professionally, and know that they're always going to work. And for all of the innovation we're packing into the core Power Platform and AI capabilities, we're investing just as much in making this platform fully managed and fully scalable. And that's just unlocking incredible value across Copilot Studio, Power Apps, and all the other things that I can build on the platform. But there's one more thing, because not every piece of software is built on Power Platform yet, right? There's a lot of tools out there on the market. And customers started asking us, what if I could take code written anywhere, code written by any agent, and deploy it to Power Platform and get all of that same governance and management and security value? And we said, let's give it a try. Right? So to show you one more bonus demo, Heather's going to stay on stage here and play not a first-time user at Ericsson, but a seasoned professional developer deploying to Power Platform for the first time. Take it away, Heather.
Thank you, Ryan. Bring your own code opens the door to modernize and extend code-based apps. With all of the new AI and agentic capabilities, it has never been easier to create applications. I've even used agent mode here in Visual Studio Code to build an app to actually manage time tracking within Ericsson. But the age-old question still remains. How do I deploy and manage this app in an environment that meets enterprise standards? Here, I can deploy this app locally, and I can see all of the cool features that I built into the app. But it's using some static data. It's not connecting to any personal information tied to my user, and it's not being able to authenticate to me as a user. This app has no idea who I am. And I can go and build out all of those capabilities, but it's just going to take me time and resources that I don't have. Now, with Bring Your Own Code, I can actually publish this app directly to the Power Platform and get all of those capabilities straight out of the box. I don't only get a pretty cool purple header, I get access to all of the 1,500 plus connectors available through the Power Platform, Microsoft Entra identity provider, and all of the scale and management capabilities that we just had Priya walk us through. Once I add a connection to this app, I get a dialog that informs me as an end user a consent to access my data. Once I connect to that data, this app is able to actually authenticate me as a user and identify how many days off I've already taken this year. With Bring Your Own Code, we're welcoming more pro developers to the Power Platform and allowing citizen developers to do even more, all with a safe place to land and manage their creations. Back to you, Ryan.
Heather, all right. And thank you to all of the brave demoers who have shown you brand new stuff completely live today. We are really excited about this last one, about Bring Your Own Code. It is in an early access preview today. It'll be much more widely available later this summer, but it really starts to broaden the aperture. And beyond just this one feature, it really starts to expand what we think of as Power Platform. Really evolving from independent low-code products for different parts of an enterprise solution to coalescing as one cohesive agent platform, where the individual products are less important than what they enable, right? The ability for humans and agents to collaborate together in completely new ways, to access data and knowledge throughout the organization, to use powerful tools to create a data culture of great analysis and enablement, and to do it all on a fully managed platform. That is by far the most robust agent platform on the planet today. And even then, it doesn't stand alone. Right? This platform is natively built into everything that our organizations are using in Microsoft 365 and the M365 Copilot, a natural extension of that work experience. And they're backed by powerful tools for data scientists and AI experts to fine-tune models, enable MCP servers, and then create the foundation on which all of this goes much faster on top. And the coolest part about it is we're not starting from scratch. 56 million people used Power Platform inside of their companies just within the last month, and it continues to grow every single month through the work of a community like this, right? And to be able to take that momentum and turn it into innovation for that next era of agent collaboration, we've got the strongest running start in the world. And that enables 10x opportunity for our organizations and even for individuals in our careers. And we're incredibly committed to continuing to advance that opportunity. One thing we're excited to announce on that front is a new partnership with Upwork, which is one of the premier places to find experts and freelancers. And so if you're sitting out there in the audience today and you're a Power Platform expert, who wants to reach new audiences, you can register on this page with Upwork. And if you're a customer out there saying, gosh, I could really use an expert to help me out here, here's another great place to go find that opportunity, right? And speaking of great places to find opportunity, you are in the right place here. There's more than 100 expert sessions over the next few days. Please take advantage of all of that amazing content and each other and the connections that come with it. And if you haven't had enough after the next couple of days and you can't wait for EPPC next year, come join us in Las Vegas in October. We'll do a version of this on an even grander scale, you're able to take in that whole global community. But look, let's get to work here, right? And I'll leave you where we started. We are a creative community changing the way the world works. And it is an incredibly exciting time to do that. Thank you for being part of the movement. Thank you for being part of the event. Have a fantastic rest of your week.
When you're looking at thousands of shipments per day, Copilot Studio has been a game changer. We don't have to go find or prompt to get the insight. It actually shows up in the decision-making process.
Junker really wanted to build quick custom solutions. Choosing Power Platform was a natural selection for us. Along my career, it's the first time I've been able to achieve with my team true agility.
As we build these agents into more and more of our processes and our consumer and colleague journeys, sky's the limit about how efficient we could actually get.